Hello everyone! I know it's been a while since I've done a tutorial, but I was just taking a little break after my class last weekend. But I wanted to come back because there's a wonderful plant that's popping up in my garden right now. And I'm actually going to talk about two plants today because they're in the same family. But I want to start with one that's coming up right now beautifully, and it's called the common vetch, and it looks like this. And you might be seeing these around your garden, around your yard. Um, you can see the little tiny sweet little purple flowers. They also come in yellow, white. The purple are what happens to grow in my garden, and if you can see the little tendrils and the little leaves, they might remind you of a sweet pea or a pea because they are in the pea family. So they're like a wild pea. Now they're legumes and they are actually 100% edible. So one of the things you can do in the springtime is you can actually cook the leaves the same way you would do collard greens, and it's going to have a very similar taste. It will taste like spinach, that same kind of collard green sort of a taste. It's very refreshing and just a very good flavor. I think if you get them even younger, they even have like a little turnipy sort of a taste if you get closer to the root. I would just do the leaves. Now, the thing is, I would actually wait. You can do a few, but don't wipe out your entire uh, crop of these just yet, because in the fall, like late summer, early fall, they actually can, well, they produce seed pods, and in those pods, you can let them dry just like you would any type of a legume, and then you take out the little seeds that will look very similar to okra seeds, and they're extremely useful as the way that you would use any type of like a lentil or a legume. You can actually grind them up and use them for flour. The wonderful thing is they have about 25% protein, so they're extremely rich in protein. They also are good for thickening soup, so if you need something to add into a soup, especially a vegetable soup, just to get a little more thickness to it, these are perfect. But for that, you have to wait until the fall, and in the meantime, just enjoy the sweetness of them. They are a plant that has been closely linked to human survival, especially when humans were more nomadic. So before we were based in one spot, um, many nomads relied on this plant to sustain them and their animals as they were moving to different camps. And the reason is because they were so easily used in pastures for animals, although unfortunately if an animal eats too much of it, they can actually have some issues with colic and different gastrointestinal issues. We don't have that. It's just they like it so much that sometimes they eat too much. They still use these in pastures actually because it's a nitrogen fixer, so it helps repair the earth, especially if you've had land that's been heavily cultivated. This planting these on off seasons are going to help that earth replenish and re-solidify. So that's one of the things that this plant also does. It is just a beautiful plant. It represents fidelity, and I kind of think that that's related to the little tendrils that sort of twist around each other. They have this very sweet sort of way of growing in these wonderful little tangles and are inseparable. So I believe that is probably where the idea of fidelity comes from with this particular, the common vetch. Now, it's one of those plants that I really feel the best use for it is nutritional. It's not necessarily a plant, even though it has medicinal uses. I feel like the food is the medicine in this particular plant. And also the beauty of it growing around you is part of the magic of it. I wouldn't really use it in any other way than that, other than to have it be a reminder of your fidelity in relationships, and that goes across romantic to friendships to whatever relationship you have with people around you. Maybe giving each other grace when there are trespasses, and also forming those close bonds with the ones that we love. Now, that being said, I want to move into one of the other plants in this family, which is lupin. And my leaves are coming up right now for the lupin, but not quite, I don't quite have flowers yet. I'm hoping maybe by June they'll be up. So I actually specifically want to talk about the Lupin albus, which is the white variety. That particular variety is edible. It was used in Roman times. It is cultivated extensively in Italy, and they used it primarily in pastures or in groves where they were planting other vegetables. The nice thing about lupin is if you plant it in your vegetable garden, it will deter rabbits. Rabbits don't like it, and so it will keep them away from your crop if you have a little border of them or have them growing as a companion plant to your vegetables. So that's probably one of the reasons in Italy that they planted the lupins so extensively, but it's also was considered a delicacy. It was related to the wolf clan. That's why the name lupin comes from the word wolf, and it was basically an ode to the wolf protector, the wolf god. So it's a very strong plant, and they're in the same family. So lupins are also in the pea family, the same way that the common vetch is. They have quite a few similarities. If you look at their little flowers, are very similar, except that the lupins grow in those beautiful, rather majestic clusters that kind of come up to a point. Now, the white variety, like I was saying, is edible. I don't recommend eating the seeds or the pods because they are, depending on how you cook them or how you work with them, they can be toxic. Blue bonnets, which are the blue variety, are toxic, so don't eat them. But definitely plant them in your garden because they are so helpful on so many levels. So back to some history. In the Roman times, stage actors would use them because the seeds were so prized that they were actually used for money at certain points in history. And stage actors, when they would pass the hat around to have everyone put a little bit in, they would say, numus, I think it's lupinus, which is the like a little bit of money, or a little spurious bit of money would be a good translation for it. So they were prized to that level. They were definitely something that was carried down through many generations and planted for the same reasons that the vetch is planted as well, because it is a nitrogen fixer in the land. Now, that being said, I know that in current days, something that it's been connected to because of its ability to heal land, it has been sometimes connected to radioactivity, in the sense that in places like Chernobyl or where there have been other radioactive accidents, they plant lupins because they do regulate the land and they heal it by fixing the nitrogen into the land. Now, I feel like that is very much representative of how we can use or think about the lupin in a magical sense. If you have something, a radioactive relationship or something in your life that's causing chaos, the lupins are there in a way to disperse it, if you will. And having them just in your garden or around your space will do that naturally. If you want to dry them out and use the pods in the fall and just kind of crush them and make them into either a little incense or some type of a little sachet, something you can wear, I definitely recommend doing that, because it's one of those plants that is extremely protective and also works very actively to heal whatever harms have been done. And that's the same for the common vetch. Now, the common vetch is going to do this on a molecular level, on a sustaining level. It's going to sustain us by keeping our body healthy, whereas the lupins are doing this on more of a symbolic or magical level where they're, and also on a very real level with the earth, they're doing all that they can do to heal any chaos or wrongs that have been committed. So if you think of this time right now as being somewhat chaotic, very chaotic for many, because we have a virus that we don't really know how it's going to evolve, I feel like these particular plants give us that little sign of hope that there will be things that will sustain us. There will be things that will help ground us. There will be earth elements and spirits that are working very, very hard to heal what we need healed at this particular time. So while the common vetch is going to sustain us maybe in some ways on a food-based level, the lupins are doing that on a more spiritual level. And that was pretty much all I had to say about those two wonderful plants. I could do a whole piece just with lupins and just with vetch, but I felt like they were coming up around the same time because they wanted to be connected in that particular way. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will try to do a few more as the months go on, and I'm working on a book, and I think we might be able to have a replay of the class that I did maybe later in June. So I'll keep everyone up to date on that. But in the meantime, enjoy and look for the common vetch in your garden. Bye.